to me that your certainty of previous and future lives was wavering. Of what value is the certainty of reincarnation? And then whoever was put also outside, you answered this tonight, last night I guess. But I wanted to come back to it a little bit because actually, if you're asking me personally, my belief in past and future lives is not wavering. I have come to the conclusion that it makes a lot of sense. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And here's how, I gave you the logical proof yesterday. Do you remember the only logical proof that I have ever heard for past lives? What was the immediate cause, the immediate previous cause of your present moment of consciousness, and back you go. So there can, which is kind of related to that earlier question. There can't be a first cause that wasn't itself an effect of a previous cause, and with consciousness too. That's all fine and good. And then some people, they read these stories, these anecdotal stories of some kid in England who, remembers being living in a village in India, and they take him to the village, and he identifies people and stuff like that. There's anecdotal stories like that, and maybe you find those. I don't find those that persuasive personally, but I do find this persuasive. Okay, sharing my own personal reason why I find it perfectly reasonable to think that there have been past lives and that there will be future lives. In this life, I've had at least 4 or 5 lives. In the life that I call this life, I have gone through at least 4 or 5 major reincarnations. Major. Physically, mentally, spiritually, in terms of relationships, in terms of my relationship with the world around me, 4 or 5 completely different lifetimes. And maybe some people are shaking their heads like, maybe if you think about it, you have too. And so what's a big deal about, thinking about more? Rebirth is occurring all the time. It's not the thing that happens like when the cartoon, like those old cartoons, like they come and the big thing, like Porky Pig goes, that's all folks, and then all it goes into blackness, and then then you have a rebirth out of that. Rebirth is occurring all the time. Even on a moment-to-moment basis, rebirth is occurring. But then in these kind of bigger sort of forms, it seems to me that if you look at your own life you've had, is your body the same or different than it was when you were 10 years old? Your physical body, is it the same or different? Completely different, right? They say that you get a new cellular structure every 7 years. And it's not that 6 years and 350 some days go by and then they deliver you a new cellular structure. Changing all the time, right? Changing all the time. And that after 7 years, your physical body becomes completely different, 100% different. What about your mind? See? Changing occur all the time. So what's the big deal about rebirth? So I just wanted to revisit that a little bit so that you weren't confused. If you have trouble with something like rebirth or any other of the teachings, just put it on a shelf. That's what they recommend. Don't say, oh no, that can't be. As if you knew that for sure that there couldn't be such a thing as rebirth. Just put it on a shelf and say, I don't know, right now I can't really buy it. I'm not really buying it right now, so I'll just shelve it. And then, keep going and keep practicing, keep studying, keep, thinking. And, you'd be amazed at what that shelved item looks like in a couple of years, All of a sudden, it makes total sense to you see. So, be like that with the things that are different. If you go down any spiritual road, you will confront difficult things. Sooner or later, you'll confront a belief or some kind of idea or practice that you just have a hard time swallowing. And the tendency that we all have as we go down any one of the legitimate spiritual traditions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, whichever one you want to go down, doesn't matter, as long as it's authentic. Our tendency is once we get down to, go down that road a bit and run into the difficulty, and you will, whichever way you go, you'll run into a difficulty. Our tendency is to say, oh, the hell with this one. Bailing, I'll bail and find a different one. I'll switch religions now. And you don't make any progress that way. You do not make any progress that way. Here's how you make progress. You find the tradition that's suitable for you. And that takes a little bit of, searching and thinking. you find a teacher, very, very important, a teacher that represents a lineage. And then and then after a certain amount of thinking about it, of testing it out, of feeling, sort of feeling it out, thinking, is this the one that I reverberate with? Is this the one that seems right to me? Then you make a commitment to it. And then the fun begins. Because the challenges begin. But you stick with it. It's like, hanging on to the bars of a roller coaster as it's taking you up and down and this way and that way. And if you've got a good teacher, they will definitely take you up and down and left and right and up, and try maybe it seems like sometimes they're trying to, like a bucking horse, to try to buck you off. And you just say, no, I'm hanging on. See? I'm hanging on for dear life. And the students who hang on are the ones that make progress. And the students who say, no, that didn't work out, that religion didn't work out, that teacher didn't work out, and so forth, I'll just try another one. Just end up their whole lives just hopping from one tradition to another, one teacher to another, and never make any progress. So, if you're serious about a spiritual life, make a commitment and then expect trouble. Expect challenges. There will be challenges. There should be challenges. If there's not challenges, your teacher's not doing something right. You're not taking it seriously enough if there aren't challenges. There should be challenges. There must be challenges. That's how you make progress. So you see, check me out. Some teachers are more difficult than others. Here, I'll give you an example of a real difficult teacher. If you were living in the time of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, we've talked about him, I think, we mentioned him a couple of times. He was one of the greatest teachers of the last century, the 20th century, and he was extraordinarily difficult teacher to have. Extraordinarily difficult. All kinds of challenges to his students. But if you look at the students who hung on, who came through his mill, came through the factory and got through on the other side, they're extraordinary. Pema Chodron, Reggie Ray, amazing, amazing people who just hung on for dear life and said, whatever this guy puts me through, I'm just going to see it as a teaching. I'm going to try to understand what it is that I need to fix so that I live a happy life. He's just pointing out something in me that I need to fix. Good teacher will do this. A good teacher will find your buttons and push them as often as possible. So to show you where they are. How would you know where the buttons are if no one was pushing them? You see? So don't think this like spiritual life is just fun and games. It should be fun, of course, but the fun is partly in the challenge. Roller coasters are fun. People pay money to go on roller coasters because it's fun, but it's a little scary. It's a little challenging also. Yeah. So it's not impossible to be having fun and being challenged at the same time, right?